Hello, everybody. Welcome to my workshop here at Miller's Farm Shop on quite a snowy morning, actually. So I've been the only one here for quite a long time this morning, but now Farmer Tom's turned up and we're ready to go. And just as luck would have it, we're doing the snowmen today, so that's quite a coincidence. So great to see you all again, or in through the camera lens anyway. And there's a couple of things I just wanted to get out of the way first in terms of what happened at Harrogate on the weekend. But firstly, just one of the more serious things. You may have seen the link that was posted in the chat at the top of this video, and I'm going to mention it again at the end. You know my good friend Nick Agar. We know that I have a good friend, Nick Agar. Unfortunately, he's a little bit poorly at the moment. He's been diagnosed with cancer of the esophagus, and he's going through a bit of a tough time. So there's a GoFundMe page been set up by Arthur and Pamela Aveling over in the States to help with workshop expenses and medical expenses over in the States. Nick is now back here and he's going to be going through treatment here with the NHS, and hopefully the same is going to be set up here. And all we're doing, I'm asking all of the wood turning community really just to show some appreciation to Nick, to the hard work that he's done, and the joy that he's brought to all us wood turners in sharing his knowledge. Just dip your hand in your pocket and put a little bit into the GoFundMe page that's linked at the top of this video in the chat section. I will mention it again at the end. I'm not going to spend a massive amount of time on it, but go to that link and you'll see a little bit of information about it and what's going on at the moment. So it'd be it would really mean a lot to me and all of his friends and family, and obviously to Nick if you did help in any way, big or small, that you could. So enough about that for the minute. We will mention it again at the end, like I say. Harrogate, let's talk a little bit about Harrogate. I've been there for the weekend, met up with the Axminster guys, met up with lots of people. Mark Beckett were there, Ruby's coming to see me tomorrow, actually. She's going to be on a course making nutcrackers, so we're going to have a little bit of fun with nutcrackers and Christmas bits and bobs. So she's staying locally all the way over from Canada, so she's going to come and we're going to have a little bit of a giggle tomorrow, as well as another couple of students coming tomorrow as well. So that's really cool. But yeah, so all the guys up there, from the guys from Axminster Records, so from the guys from Turner's Retreat, all my wood turning friends. So it's a really awesome place to be. And Glenn and Lisa Tingle as well. We had a really nice chat. First time we've actually had a chance to speak to each other. So it was really nice to finally get to speak to each other after we've been talking about each other's videos online for ages. So actually getting to speak to each other was a really awesome experience. So really nice to meet everybody. It was a wonderful experience. In the UK, I still think that the Harrogate North England woodworking show is one of the best, to be fair. So no, really good to see you and catch up with everybody. But we're now fully immersed into Christmas. I had a little jolly drive to work this morning in the four-wheel drive. I had Michael Bublé's Christmas album going, dodging all the cars that were stuck, and turned up here to think about making some snowmen for you this afternoon. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm not lying. That was a true fact that happened this morning. So let's have a look. So these are the characters that we're making. These, my youngest son, Charlie, is encouraging me to get these in the shop at the moment. He said, Dad, you'll make a fortune if you make a load of those and sell those. But I made these quite a long time ago. These are lovely little characters, a 3 and a 2 snowball snowmen. And really, they were little practice pieces. These are probably the most expensive snowmen you're going to get. We've got solid boxwood bodies. There's ebony buttons, and eyes and features, ebony hat, and a pink ivory wood nose. We're going to tame the expense of the timber down a little bit. I say a little bit. We've got some ash. So yeah, some nice plain whitish ash. I've got ebony for the dark eyes, for the coal buttons and that sort of thing. We've got some she oak, just because of the color, really. It's a nice orangey, pinky color, the she oak. And then for the hat, I'm using some good old black bog oak. Okay, so expenses down a little bit. However, you could, of course, color. You can spray, you can add lacquers and all those sorts of things. You can just hand paint if you wanted to. You don't have to use sort of colored timbers. We'll come back to those in a minute once we've once we've done a little bit of turning. This is a very, very basic, easy project. I would put this right there at beginner level. So anybody just starting, doesn't matter how long you've been turning, or anybody could do these. And just tame it down to suit you. If you just want 2 snowballs on your snowman, do 2 snowballs. If you want 3, do 3. If you want 4, do 4. You can put arms on it if you want. So you can do all sorts of things. You can make table settings. So you can have a broom holding a name. You can do all sorts of things with it. So there's loads that you could do. But we're going to keep it simple. We're going to do a 3 snowball snowman, top hat, button nose, or carrot nose, sorry. And let's, before we go any further, of course, Tom's here, Farm Tom. Yes, Tom.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, apparently your mic is breaking up a bit. Are you all connected around your
rear?
Rear, yeah.
Let's have a look. Oh, there we are. I've twiddled something there. If it works, it works. If it doesn't,
yeah, do let us know if it carries on.
Yeah, just keep talking to us. We said about talking to us, not only when it comes to mics and things, but the cameras as well. We do our best. We've got 4 cameras now. I appreciate the one above our heads a little bit of a weird color. Until I buy a new one, that's how that one is. But the others we can move. They're easy. You move. I mean, even Tom's got a remote for the one up there, so we can do all sorts. Okay, turning between centers is the first thing. I'm not going to fuss around with this. We're going to go. I'm going to do a nice, accurate centering there by eye, or as accurate as my eyes can be. Center, turn between centers, and then we sand the bottom to a little quirky angle. The top mark where that center is, that doesn't really matter because we're going to cover it up with a top hat in a moment, so I'm not too worried about that. We can leave a little flat, in fact, up there. Let's get a little bit of light on the situation, as long as that doesn't get in the way of the cameras. And there we are. All right, Tom, keep going. Yeah, good. Dust extraction is going to go on fairly quickly because this ash that I'm using here is quite dry. It's a dusty old ash. So we're going to put the dust extraction on. Shouldn't affect you too much. There we are. Just checking your camera's all right. Using a 3/4 rough and gouge. Making sure everything's nice and tight. I always double check and then triple check in terms of security, and it's a wise thing to do, I think. Never be too complacent. Doesn't matter how long you've been turning. Never be complacent about your security on the lathe, and make sure before you turn that lathe on, everything clears the tool rest. Start at 0, slowly wind that lathe up. It's just the way I work. And then turning it on this size, and this is a 3-inch, so 75 mil square. And it's around about 6 inches long, a little bit longer than that, actually. Let's just have a quick double check on that. But it doesn't matter. You can make them, I don't know, you can make them 2 inches. You can make them 1 inch long if you want to. There's just different purposes, different uses. 6 inches, 150 mil. Down to a cylinder. Once we're down to a cylinder, then we can start thinking about dividing things up. Little bit of a flat there still. Just a little bit. Down and around. Stop the lathe, check, move the tool rest whilst the lathe is off. A little bit of a flat there, so let's just clean that up. Nice slow movement now. I'm just making a passing, finishing cut with the rough and gouge. So I've just slowed the movement down a little bit. Now we need to divide the piece up. So we're going to have the biggest snowball at the bottom, and then slowly getting smaller. So let's do the first one. Second one, we can change that a little bit. That pencil mark's going to disappear in a minute as well. Let me just take some of that glare away from you. There we go. So we'll take a little bit of that away. Let's go to a bowl gouge next. So the rough and gouge can go away for the minute. Just take a little bit of this away in terms of diameter. Yes, Tom.
Phil wants to know what make are your sawtooth cutters and what size to get started with?
Ooh, depends how much you want to spend, really. So I've just recently, let me just get one. I come back from the show, Harrogate show. I've just bought Planet. Okay, the Planet one's good. That was, what's that, 18 quid? That one, that's an inch, that one. I get through a lot of inch sawtooth bits for salt and pepper grinders, that sort of thing. That's a good intermediate sort of price. The thing is, when it comes to sawtooth and Forstner bits, most of the time I can go with short ones, that's fine. But for this, I need long ones, long series. Long series ones can get quite expensive. And the better makes, the top end, you'll be spending quite a lot of money. When you go to sort of 40, 50 millimeters, then you'll probably be talking 70 to 80 pounds for a Forstner bit. The inch ones aren't too bad. Like I say, that's 18. But I tend to use either Planet, Fish. If I need to go short ones, I use, again, either Fish or the Excalibur ones, both in Forstner and Sawtooth as well. But for Sawtooth, they're always going to be a bit more expensive. Long series, then Planet ones tend to the right price bracket for me. If you buy cheap, I'll be honest with you, on Forstner bit and Sawtooth bits, and you can get cheap ones out there, Temu and Amazon, they will last a couple of uses, and then you'll have to either sharpen them or bin them. So it's false economy. You've got to spend some money on them. Unfortunately, it's just the way things are. All right, Tom? So I've just taken the diameter down to the second. Snowball. There we are, that'll do. And then to the head. And I haven't measured anything here. I'm just looking at it. I'm tweaking it as I go. So I haven't got a fixed dimension in my mind at all. I'm just thinking, okay, that looks as though it should be about right. Now I can start refining things. So we know that this is a given diameter. The large snowballs have a given diameter. It's the biggest I can physically get it to. So I'm going to form that one. Then we're going to do the next one and see if it looks right. Then the next one, see if it looks right. And that's just the way on here that I'm tending to work. And, they're all going to be slightly different. Nice V cut. There we are. Now I'm going to rough him out with a bowl gouge. Bowl gouge or spindle gouge, doesn't really matter. You're just repeating a process. So we'll do another V cut there. That's going to be the head. So let's start getting a little bit of skew work going. So I'm going to raise the tool rest up. We can just roll this bead over it. I'm going to plane this really. Now, don't worry, at this stage, I'm not worried at all about the base. I'm going to sand the base, doesn't matter. All I want is a nice clean finish here. Back the other way. And I'm doing a planing cut as opposed to a bead forming, really. So roll, 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 using the heel all the way over. That's going to give us a really nice finish. Same on this one. All the way over. One more of those. Up to the top. There we are. That's a bit of an odd shape, the bottom here. Let's just clean that up. That's better. the way over. Now remember, we're going to have a hat on the top here, so we don't have to roll all the way over. That skew's getting a little bit big. Let's go to a spindle gouge. Just getting in the way. I'm getting close to hitting this area here. There we are. That looks okay. Let's stop the lathe. Let's have a look and see what we've got. Should be relatively good. There we are. It's quite clean, that. I'm quite happy with that. We're going to put a hat on this one, remember? So, doesn't matter up here. Really doesn't matter. So I think we can start thinking about sanding that first area. We're going to go right through 120 to 400. So 120 grit should be fairly quick to do. Let's bring my extractor a little bit closer. Should be fairly quick to do because we've spent a bit of time on getting the finish just how we want it. Okay, so it just really helps us. That bit of abrasive is dead. Another one. It's better. Yeah, we've been just making sure that we've got everything how we want it. And that's the only reason we're trying to get a really good finish on these things. If we could just go to 80 grit every time, or, you know, and sand and sand and sand, then we wouldn't need to get a good finish. But if we're trying to speed things up in the sanding process, minimize the amount of stress and sanding that we're doing, then the better finish is best. And that just takes a little bit of practice. Bevel rubbing is key in most of the things that we're talking about. I was talking to Glenn Teagle, and he was explaining about bevel rubbing and carbide tools, which is really was a real eye-opener for me. I've always assumed that carbide, you know, you're scraping, but he's on the completely opposite side. He said, no, he said, carbide tools really do cut, which is really refreshing. Right tools for the job. I'm a traditional tool user. I don't use many carbides, if I'm honest. Just my training, really. That's a really pretty bit of timber. I want to say it's just ash, but that sort of sounds like I'm putting ash down. And ash is probably one of the most diverse timbers that you can get, with so many different grain colors, grain orientations, different features. There's lots of things going on with this bit of timber, and we'll show you once I've got this all sanded and put together. You'll see I've got a fairly plain side, but in that plain side you've got the annual rings that are really making some pretty patterns there. You've got some weird things going on. So at that part of its life, there was some damage to the tree. That's caused some interesting things to happen. Lots of little nodules and little markings going on. So really quite attractive. So that was a 120. Now we're going to go and travel through. So up to 180. Work our way through. We're all quiet on the question front today, Tom. No questions?
No real questions at the moment.
One.
As we have a bit of a lull, that'd be great if everybody gave us a thumbs up, wouldn't it?
Get on, yes, please. Thumbs up. Always just it gives us a little bit of a acknowledgement that we're doing the right thing. If you think we're not, then please let us know in the feedback, because it's good to know. We can change things if we know. I'm up in the air, Tom, as to what to do in the next live that we're doing. I've had a couple of thoughts. I either want to do, maybe we'll open up. We'll see what everybody wants. My two thoughts: either a Christmas carousel or a nativity scene. So we'll show everybody what a Christmas carousel is in a moment, if you weren't sure, or a nativity scene. So nativity scene, obviously, we're going to have all of the characters from the nativity, including sheep, maybe a cow, or is it an ox?
An ox. Donkey.
Donkey.
That's the important one, isn't it? I think.
I have seen nativity scenes with things like giraffes and everything in. Yeah. Camel. Or Christmas carousel. Christmas carousel or Christmas pyramid, they're called. German tradition. We can do one of those. Be a quick a quick project to do in an hour, mine. So down to 400 grit. There we are. Stop and have a look at that. Whilst you're stopping and having a look at that, let me get a Christmas carousel down so you can at least see what one of those is. There's a Christmas carousel or Christmas pyramid, and if we did this one, we do it the single tier like you see there. So that's one option for a fortnight's time. The other option is a nice nativity scene with several figures.
The gentleman Woodturner suggested maybe a nativity scene with weevils and penguins.
Yes. No. Thanks for your suggestion, Mark, but no. I'd expect nothing less, Mark, to be fair. I'm just walking around the other side of the camera to get my Branston pickle jar full of sanding sealer.
Jonathan's asked, the airflow looks good on your dust extractor. What rate is it? Do you know?
It's I don't know how in terms of ratings. It's an industrial dust extractor, overpowered for one outlet. But the reason I got the one I've got, it's a high airflow extractor. So that means there's a rate of air speed that's coming through the extractor. Now, what that does, it gives you a lot more suction away from the nozzle. If you use something like a vacuum extractor, they're great at the nozzle. So they're good for plugging into things, for plugging into power tools, all that sort of stuff. Not so good for wood turning because, of course, we're trying to suck away from that nozzle end. So I always go for airflow extractors. So the one I've got in there is a cyclone. Alternatively, the bag type with the impellers in. They're good for sucking from a long way away. And the other thing in this workshop, I've got 4 lathes to extract from. When I'm teaching, I need to have power to all of those machines. So it's quite a big unit that I've actually housed in a separate. I've walled a section of the workshop off, so which is literally behind there. So it's quite a big one. So slightly overkill for one lathe, but necessity when you're using a planer thicknesser, you need airflow, you need quick, a high degree of volume to keep that flowing through. Vacuum extractors just don't have that for me. They, like I say, good at the nozzle, but not so good everywhere else. Quick slurp of coffee. Right, bit of sanding sealer. That was cellulose-based sanding sealer. And I'm just going to very lightly denib. I've given that a little bit of time. Turn the lathe speed down to 0. It's trickling around. It's 200 revs. And now I'm just going to denib. As those little fibers, those microfibers have stood up, I'm now just taking them off. And of course, now the sanding sealer sets. And that means that those fibers can't come back up again. So for a finish to go on top of this now, it's going to give you the best possible canvas for your finish to go over. And with these, I tend to get them all glued together. And then once glued together in terms of the buttons, the nose, all those sorts of things, then I can think about the finish I'm going to use. It's going to be a spray lacquer. My favorite spray lacquer is the chestnut one, which literally just either the satin or the gloss over the top of that, and it does the job for me. And it depends on you really and your taste and the setting as to whether you go for the satin or the gloss. Now, one thing I'm going to do just while we have this one on the lathe, let's do a little bit of drilling. So, and I'm going to show you why. So if I put the face on, so let's just give myself some marks. So where am I going to have facing forward? So that's a really pretty side, that side. So I think I'm going to use that. So I'm going to go for buttons. So we're up high. So one there, one there. So pencil, because pencil can be rubbed off. There we are. And then our nose right in the middle. And the reason I'm doing this is the safest option for me. You imagine me trying to do this with this off the lathe. I'm going to use a drill in a minute. We're going to hand drill. And I need to do some holes first, because whenever you've experienced this before, whenever you part something off on the lathe, it leaves a little nib, and that's going to work to our favor. That little nib will locate into the holes I'm about to drill. So instead of being an issue for me, it's actually going to work in my favor. So we're going to go for a nice decent speed on the cordless drill. Going to go for a nice small drill bit. Let's go to 1 point. Oh no, let's go to 2 mil. You'll see this work in a minute. Good safe place for it to be whilst I'm trying to drill. You don't need to go deep. Remember, this is just to locate. It's not actually being used as a fixing hole. And you don't need to be highly accurate either. This is going to be, I'm going to do a bigger hole for the nose. No, you don't have to be highly accurate here. You just mess around. This is it just keeps my fingers out of the way whilst I'm drilling. Let's go to size. Let's go to a 3 mil, 3.5. So 1/8 of an inch-ish. And we will actually cut a tenon to fit that. So when it comes to making the nose in a moment. Okay, whilst that's in there, let's just turn the lathe on, just a little bit of that fine abrasive again, just to clean up those holes we've just drilled. There we are. And that's the body done. I'm always thinking in batches here. So I'd now do another one and another one and another one. In fact, down here, I've got how many pieces? We've got a dozen pieces down there. That's going to be for various sized and shaped snowmen to go out into the shop. Have we got a question?
We do. Jonathan's asked, could you turn each section of the snowman separately so you could reposition him or her in a different position?
Yeah, you can do. I even thought about maybe doing a little bit eccentric turning. You know, that would work. So you have several positions either on the head or the body that you could then pivot over. So he's sort of moving around. But yeah, absolutely. You can make them separate, put them off at different angles. Even, you know, like I said, you can make arms for it, make it elongate a couple of snowballs for the arms and hands and all those sorts of things. So you can really go to town on these, or you can just keep them simple. You can make them simple pine ones if you wanted to hang from the tree. Make sure they're small and light. Table place settings, all that sort of stuff. It's endless what you can do. So that's that first one. So remember, that is a snowball snowman. You can do 2 if you wish. It's entirely up to you. So we're going to keep that close while we start making. Let's go for the nose first. Nice nose. We'll save the hat to last. So Chuck needs to go on now. So what are we doing? Nose. Let's go for pin jaws. Doesn't really matter what style of pin jaws you use. I'm going to use these. These are really cool. All right, they are literally nice long pin jaws. Really used for, if you're doing a natural edge, drill an inch hole down through the natural edge, then you can expand those on. So they're pin jaws, really. So they take the place of a pin chuck. Expand into that hole so you can turn the outside of the natural edge bowl, create a foot, a hold, turn them over, and then turn the natural edge out from there. So it's a good way of holding things like that. But I use them for holding so many different things. Here we're going to have that bit of pink ivory wood, which is going to go up through the center. Slightly different chuck. Let's get them a decent way down. And we're going to turn a carrot tom. There we are. So good practice with the skew chisel. So let's go nice and small with the skew. So a little 12mm. Couple of thousand revs. I need a little bit of light on the subject. I'm just turning it down to carrot size. There we go, right. That'll do our nose. Right, we're going to put a little tenon in there. Remember, we drilled a 3.5 hole for the nose, so we need to measure the drill bit that we used, and we'll create that tenon. So set of calipers. Just measuring that drill bit. Little parting tool. I'm going to use the beading and parting tool. Keep going until that slots over. It does. Good. Tourist out the way. A little bit of sanding. So I'm not going silly on this, just doesn't need it really. So I'm already down to the 320. That'll do us. Not putting a finish on, don't need sanding sealer, it's too small to worry about. First little feature should go in nicely. There we are. He's a big old nose, big carrot nose on that one. So that'll be good. Right, so onwards and upwards. So we need to make some lumps of coal next. Whilst we've got those drawers in there, let's go for coal. I won't bother sanding any of these. I probably would if you guys weren't watching, but just to speed things up, I want to try and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, Tom. 10 bits. So
Cool. Phil's asked a question, but I'm not quite sure if it's all here. I'll ask it as best I can. So, Colwin, the method if you need to laminate timber together for deep bowl or best to avoid the process. I'm not quite sure what the process was.
For laminating timber for a deep bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ask again, Phil. I'm not quite sure. Not quite sure. Yeah. If you want to do deep bowls, we know that you can't buy them in bowl blanks. We know that. In trying to buy planks of timber, again, trying to buy a really, really thick one. As soon as you go to about 5 inches, really, that's where they stop. If you want to do bigger than that, and I'd advise this anyway, turn from wet, rough turn. So you can turn as deep as you want to, rough turn, let it dry, usually 6 months to a year. And then you're ready to go. That way, you'll be able to have as deep as you want. I would run away and Tom, would you just pass me? You see that just between the planer and the lay, that deep pot. So here's a good example. Thank you, mate. Cheers. There's a good example. That one there. That one is 8 inches. Number 1 there, please, Tom. And that pot's 8 inches. That's ready to be finished. But that was rough turn. Look, Now, I wouldn't be able to get that in a plank. I certainly wouldn't be able to get it in a bowl blank. I think there may have been a bird's nest in there at some point, but go to number 4 camera a minute, Tom. There may have been a bird nest in there at some point. But that one is ready. That one's ready. And back to 1, if you would. Sorry, messing Tom around. That one's all ready to be returned, but you'd never get that in a blank or a plank. So rough turning as wet. And what that does, I don't know whether you can see the shape that it's gone, but it's certainly nowhere near round at all. That's where we are with these. That's the way we work them. It's then the size of the piece is really in your control. There's no limits really. So nice and quick. What I'll do, instead of doing all of them, let me turn a few for you. But for my first job here for these bits of coal is to turn everything down to the size I need. Okay, so there's the size I need. Then we can clean up. So we're going to do one at a time. I need this, my poor old eyes. And we're going to go to a spindle gouge. 1. Parting tool, I'm going to go quite thin. Support, support, support as much as you can. Now, I don't know whether you're going to see this, but on the back of that little bit of coal that we've just turned, my finger behind it, that you can see a little tenon. That's the bit of residue that's left from the parting tool. That's the bit, rather than trying to clean it up, that I'm going to use to locate into the holes. So my first little button, that's going to go in there neatly, you see. And when we glue it, it gives another form of support. So let's just do all of them. If I think I'm boring here, I will stop. So nice and quick. Da 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 da. Part off. I'll just put them up there for the moment. Next one. Part off. Oh, that one's on the floor. Next one. Next one. It's just a case of keep going. That's 3, including the one we got on already is 4. 5. 6. Let's just get a little bit more timber to use. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We need another 3. May as well. Now we're this far, let's do it. One more. Turn that off. Let's load him with coal. If I don't drop any more on the floor, I'll be surprised. One's gone. me just come on camera. Sorry, Tom. Give him a couple of eyes. Just those little bits that you leave behind. Normally, they're a real pain to sand off. There we are. Oh, I need to make some smaller ones. So we're just going to do a couple here for the minute. I don't want to bore you doing any more. Yeah, they're a real pain normally to sand off because it's such small pieces. So just having those holes. Look, so you can see it. I just need to make a couple of smaller ones to there because the ones I've got at the moment, they're just a wee bit too big to go in those small holes. So we'll do that. But look, that was easy. You don't have to sand them. When we spray lacquer over the top of this, that sort of seal them anyway. And it gives them that sort of natural look as well. If you want to sand them, absolutely. But we're going to leave those for a minute. So then the last thing to do is the hat. Okay, so I'm going to turn this upside down and let any fall out that want to fall out, which is 3 of them. And then we can do the hat and leave our snowman there. Any questions while I put a few tools away, Tom? Or are we good?
No, all good, I think.
Excellent.
The gentleman would suggest that looks like a kind of stage that you can give Vicky to do.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure that she'd be happy with that. But... Okay, so the hat. Now the hat, we're going to use a nice piece of dark timber. In this case, is a bit of bog oak. I'm not suggesting you use bog oak, because it's expensive stuff. Ebony, expensive stuff. What you could do is just use some stain instead. So you could use a Jacobean oak or an ebony stain. Everything nice and black. Or you might just use a dark timber. It doesn't have to be completely black, of course. So to start with, we're going to go between centers, and then I'm going to just turn down to a cylinder. So go back with our little steb center. Or pro drive, not step center. My little bit of bog oak, beautiful stuff. This, all I'm doing here, I'm just going to turn down to a cylinder and then create a hole point, which is the bit that Vicky would normally do for me. There we are. Hole point's going to be this side. So this is the exposed end, the bit that was exposed to daylight and everything. This is the clean cut end here. So this is likely to have any splits and cracks in it where this isn't. So that's where we're going to just rough that down. Now, I know this is going to be really dusty. It's going to be almost like coal to turn. So I am going to start with extraction on, rough down to a cylinder. That'll do. Little hole point, cleaning up that end. Now I'm going to use the little O'Donnell jaws, so I'm just doing a tenon. Very slight dovetail. Just a slight one. I don't need to go crazy with that. Then we can take out that center, put the O'Donnells on. Got a little bit of a shaving. Oh yeah, shaving in the thread. Still got a shaving in the thread. Got So first of all, I need to create a hollow, the head that's going to fit the head. So you can either drill that out or you can just turn it out like I'm going to do. Clean up that underside. And then we're going to reverse it onto a little jam chuck. So little bowl gouge, little tiny bowl gouge. This is a 6¼ inch. There we go. Let me just put our new snowman up there next to the old snowman. Take out a little bit of the inside of the hat. And you don't really need to go overly deep. What we are going to do though is give them a hat fitting in a minute. I want this to go over the head a little bit. I don't want it just to perch on top. Yeah, we're nearly there. A little bit more and that'll do. And this is just going to be epoxied on. There's nothing complicated about this at all. There we are. That will be fine. I have to leave a little flat on the inside for my jam chuck to grab. So let's just go with a skew. There we go. I think that'll do. Clean up the rim. Do another hat fitting. Just double check. Well, you're going to put the hat on at a nice jaunty angle as well. Don't forget. There we are. That's fine. Like that. That's sinking down far enough. Not so far that it covers the eyes, but you're just above there. So next thing to do, I think there's a tiny little split in this. It's not going to affect anything though. Next thing to do is with the parting tool, I'm just going to cut down just to start that rim. Now don't separate the rim. Remember there is a hole. That's about it. Anyway, that's as far as I dare. I'm going to clean up now with a skew. Good. And then take away the waste with the bowl gouge. Well, let's get that extraction. Oh, that's really dusty. Do you know what? I can dare a little bit more. That'll be nice. Let's just do one final hat fitting before we decide on length. Yeah, I'm going to come up. Yeah, I like that. I like the grain in this one. You can still see that it's oak. You've got those medullary rays just shining through. So if I start to part off, I'm not worried at all the finish that the parting tool leaves, because we are going to turn this around in a moment. Right, just whilst we've got that there and I can access this bit, let's do a little bit of sanding. So remember not to lazy sand. You've worked hard to create these shapes, so sand to the shape rather than sanding blindly over the surfaces. Keep those shapes nice and crisp. Now this bog oak will need a seal. it'll absorb so quickly any lacquer you put on otherwise. So sanding sealer is quite important for this. There we are, down to 240. Has there been any talk about what people would prefer to see on the next one?
Not too much, but the people that have are quite happy with either. But I think maybe the carousel was a slight favourite. But yeah, do let us know what you'd like to see.
Yeah, if you're watching, just one word: carousel or nativity. Let's get you all involved. You can decide what we're going to do next time. If you've never used the chat functions before, this is your chance. You don't have to ask a question. You can just type the word in, press enter, and there you go. Right, good. Bit of sanding sealer. Where have I put it? There it is.
The first three: Catherine, Nativity, Chris, Carousel, Michael, both. And now we've got loads coming in. Brilliant. We're going to have to count these up now, aren't we?
Yes, you are. So, bit of sanding sealer. Look at that. Perfect. A little bit of sanding sealer. You know what we're going to do. Just very lightly, just denib. Be careful when you first put your sanding sealer on. Make sure it's dried properly before you start the lathe again. Otherwise, it can jet out you. Even to the touch, that's not wet on the surface. It feels cold on the surface. But what's happened is that sanding sealer has just been absorbed by that very dense sponge, which our timber is. So again, turning the lathe on too quickly, it'll just spray back out at you. So just be a little bit careful. I always tend to turn the lathe speed down a little bit before I start the lathe, and then just denib at a very slow speed. And don't worry, there's those minute little scratches that are put in there. That's the sanding sealer, not the timber. As soon as you put your finish over the top of that, they disappear. So it's not an issue. Okay, now the next thing, this rim is quite fragile. When you're moving that tool rest up close, just a little bit of care. It's ever so easy to slide that tool rest into that workpiece. I've done it myself so many times, so just be careful. And then back with the speed, roughly part off. Making sure you don't drop it down the extractor. There we are. That gives us just a surface. Sorry, that's all right. That gives us surface just to clean up. All right. So let's make a little jam chuck. We may as well use this. It's the bit of bog oak. It's in here. It won't be wasted. Little tip for you here: when you're making these jam chucks, don't go too small. Little tip here: when you're making these jam chucks, turn the taper. It's much easier to size off a taper. I just went too small too soon. Close. Right, we're nearly there. So I'm going to just tidy that taper up a little bit more. stop the lathe. We are. Now, you can't take a massive cut here. What are you laughing at, Tom? Who's saying what? Derogatory.
The gentleman would tell us. He said the Jason Brick skew is really good for these. Does Colwin have one?
I don't. Only not for any reason. The only reason I don't is because I haven't, because I've got mine. They are really good, actually. I'm going to agree with you there.
We prefer awkward questions, don't we?
I do. I'll tell you what. It doesn't fit in my the way I store my tools. I need a ferrule, you see. And it's only a bladed tool. We're just going to clean this up. I'm in peril here of this just popping off and going down the dust extractor. So I'm just going to move that out the way. I'm just using the spindle gouge just to clean that finish up before back with the abrasive.
Matthews asked Colwin. He's right in the middle of batching out 30 smokers that you sent him the inserts for recently. Where do you get the cloak chains for the Vikings?
So you can either get them from Hobbycraft, that's it. I was going to say Hobby Lobby then, but I'm in the wrong country. Hobbycraft, or on Amazon. So literally it's just craft chain. If you go to Hobbycraft, you can get them in rolls, so you just get cut off what you want. So yeah, either there or online. Just look for coloured chain, so silver chain, not gold chain, but you know what I mean, gold coloured chain. It's readily available. There we are. Let's go down to 400. A little bit of sanding sealer on top of there. How are we doing with our suggestions? Carousel or?
I don't know, it's reasonably even, I think, but we're going to have to go and count them up. There was a flurry.
Going to leave it to my favourite.
You could always do both, though, couldn't you?
Or not.
One after each other. Oh yeah, I'm not talking about like a 5-hour.
We could do. Yes, absolutely right. How long have we got before Christmas? I think we've only got a couple. We've only got a couple before. Well, you can pretty much guarantee if we've got 2 left before Christmas, it's going to be a carousel and nativity. Cold coffee, lovely. Right, I think we're there. What was the best camera, Tom? Maybe 3. So remember, we are a few coal buttons, and let's give them an eye at least. And coal features missing, only because I need to make some smaller ones. There we go. He's got a couple of eyes there at least. A little bit of epoxy resin glue, which I'll show you in a minute. Nice little quirky angle. This is a proper dapper snowman. There we are. That'll dress any Christmas table. You got a nice little carrot nose. Nice big carrot nose, actually. You can put arms on it. And what I do then, once you've glued the hat on, a little bit of the acrylic lacquer, give them a good spray all over. Now, in terms of the bottom, you see we haven't really done anything with the bottom. Disc sander, get your disc sander back on the lathe and sand. Give him a bit of an angle rather than standing upright to attention. Let's give him an angle as if he's just melting slightly. He's just sort of drifting over a little bit. That works really, really well, especially if you've got a batch. If you're doing craft shows, craft fairs, and a batch of these all together. They look quite fun. Tom, I think I'm done. Do you want to put number 1 camera on? We'll sign out. There we are. It's our little snowman. So that's the one that we've just made. That's the finished article with a nice little glossy finish on him. So a couple of little 3 snowboard snowmen. There we are. Let's get the other one down. I just wanted to show you the 2 snowman. I always think these are quite fun. I've put bowler hat on this one purely because he's a little bit more of a dumpy character. A little bit of a fat snowman there, and then just a bowler hat seems to add to the character a little bit more. Again, nice carrot nose, little coal buttons and features. So there we are. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope there was a little bit of fun to be had with those. You don't have to make batches of them. You just make 1 or 2 for yourselves if you want to, or for gifts even. And that's what we're about here. We're just sort of giving you some ideas, maybe some inspiration as to what to do next. There's so many projects out there. When it comes to Christmas time, we're either making things for shops to sell, we're making gifts, we're making presents, and these make really, really lovely presents. The 2 that I've showed you that have been made before, I made these probably a good 10 years ago, and I've demonstrated these all over the place, but these come out every Christmas. And they're on mantle and pride of place. So that's what you get with them. They do come out. It's almost like an heirloom gift that you're creating. So good bit of fun. So no, thank you very much. And before I sign off, let me just remind you of the GoFund page that we've got listed in the chat function there for Nick Agar. Remember, he's going through that horrible illness. He's got esophageal cancer. And the GoFund page is there to help just pay the bills really whilst he's having to tackle this horrible disease. So to keep the workshop lights on and to help with medical expenses back in the States when he returns. He's over here at the moment. He's going through treatment in the UK. But yeah, just wish him all the luck in the world. I've spent so many adventures with Nick, and he's given us so much in the wood turning world. His creativity is really something that has really taught me so much stuff. He's a good friend, in fact, a family member, and I just want us to really back him now and support as much as we physically can. So just wanted to draw your attention to that. Thank you ever so much, everybody, for stopping by and spending the time watching us create weird things on the lathe. If you like what you see, don't forget, just give us a thumbs up. It really does show your appreciation and makes us understand that we've done something right. And subscribe if you're not a member of the channel already. Until then, next time I'm going to just put a suggestion out there. I'm going to make the carousel next time, and then we'll do the other one after. All right. See you next time, everybody. Bye-bye.